Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast. On today's episode, we'll be examining the spring training catcher battle that will be going on, and we'll talk about some possible free agents that I think can fall to the White Sox here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, being produced today by our guy, Joey Christopoulos. On the show today, we'll be talking about the position battle in spring training that will be taking place at the catcher position. We got 4 names to talk about, and I will give you my plan for what the White Sox should do. And the best part, we're 6 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. This could change in the blink of an eye. What if Edgar Quero looks like Superman? What if Edgar Quero looks like Zach Collins? What if Kyle Teel looks like Superman? What if Kyle Teel looks like Zach Collins? What if Omar Narvaez looks like Superman? What if Omar Narvaez looks like Omar Narvaez? We'll talk about all of that. And I got some free agent names that could fall to the White Sox. I've been talking about the White Sox as a bottom feeder. Picture them at the lowest part of the Mariana Trench, just waiting for dead fish to fall at the bottom. That's your beloved Chicago White Sox, a fish that eats dead fish. So we're just going to wait for some possible dead fish to fall to the bottom of the ocean. Listen to Ozzy. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're following the CHGO White Sox Twitter page. Make sure that you're hitting that thumbs up button and you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. There's a live show going on right now. The Bulls are reacting to the lack of trade deadline moves, and they're screaming their heads off, ready to just stop and give up altogether. And that's what Jerry Reinsdorf does to us all. So aren't we lucky? Let's get into the catcher position battle for spring training in 2025. The 4 guys that are battling for this position: Matt Thaiss, Omar Narvaez, Edgar Quero, and Kyle Teel. Thaiss and Narvaez brought in on minor league deals, and then Quero and Teel brought in via trades. Quero in the 2023 deadline when Ronaldo Lopez and Lucas Giolito were sent over to the Anaheim Angels. Guy Bush also part of that trade for the Sox. And then Kyle Teel just acquired as the White Sox traded Garrett Crochet. Teel, the second piece in that deal, just behind Braden Montgomery, along with our guy, Wikelman Gonzalez. And hey, shout out to Kevin and Peyton who are hanging out with us. Kevin says, "This is depressing." And Peyton says, "Just popping in, have a great show." Thank you to both of you. We got 5 likes and 8 watchers. So those 3 other people, quit lagging and hit that thumbs up button.
Good conversion rate.
What's that?
Good conversion rate so far.
Right? Yeah. I mean, hey, if I debuted as a Edgar Quero, a Kyle Teel, I'd love to go 5 for my first date.
It's the Fantastic Four is what we're talking about here today.
Exactly. And we're not using AI to achieve it. But yes, the Fantastic Four today, as Joey just claimed it. We got 2 guys that have made their major league debuts. Edgar Quero had a cup of coffee with the major league roster, but he hasn't made his major league debut yet, and Teel hasn't either. So let's talk about the 2 veterans first. Thaiss is a left-handed hitter, right-handed catcher. Obviously, all of these will be right-handed catching. But he had 152 games over the past 2 seasons, played 95 in 2023 and dealt with more injuries this year. He is pretty consistently around a 79 to 81 weighted runs created plus hitter. And I know that's nowhere near 100, but for catchers, for the White Sox, especially a team that barely struggled to have anyone over 60 weighted runs created plus, 80 and 79, not bad. He does have good blocking, poor pop, and poor framing. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're going to see, at least new with the White Sox, is Walker McKinvey's influence on catchers and the way that they are approaching that. The White Sox, I don't think, have had a catching guru that has really been a guy that can go in and say, hey, this is how we're going to improve your framing, like Walker McKinvey does. But with Thaiss, good blocking, poor pop, and the framing is poor as well. He is a one-knee catcher, which is something I'll get into a bit, but he sits in a one-knee catching position, and I think that is going to be very, very, potent throughout the White Sox organization. Omar Narvaez, right-handed hitter, right-handed catcher. Average exit velocity similar to the Omar Narvaez of 2018. Now, that's not saying anything impressive. He's got a very poor average exit velocity. But when looking at guys and how they will kind of battle through age, Narvaez still striking the ball pretty much the same way that he used to. So we'll take it. The other numbers outside of that haven't really been there. He's struggled over the past 2 years, which is why he's available for the Chicago White Sox to pick up. He went to the Mets after being with Milwaukee for 3 years. He was with Milwaukee, the Brewers, from 2020 to 2021, was even an All-Star in 2021, signed with the Mets in 2023, 146 plate appearances, only 49 games, though. And then 2024, similar thing, only 28 games played. I don't know if the health has been there for Omar, so that's one thing to watch out for. However, in 2020, he went to Milwaukee, started working with Walker McKinven, just found a short of Walker McKinven saying that no one works harder than Omar Narvaez, and this was back when he was in Houston with the Brewers. But Narvaez was all right in 2020, 53 OPS, negative .1 WAR, but his framing took a huge jump. And then in 2021, he pieced it all together, 101 OPS plus, and then he had the framing that was the top 100 percentile in all of baseball in those 123 games, 1.5 B WAR. So Narvaez, if things go right, he could be a pretty decent option. And then you have the two prospects, Edgar Quero, switch hitting catcher. He struggled versus changeups down in, Dave is yelling. Struggled versus changeups down in AAA. I think that's mainly just because he's a switch hitter. That's the one pitch that's going to throw off when you're going up against other handedness, right? If you're a right-handed batter, a lefty is going to be able to throw you changeups, and Quero's always going to face the other-handed due to being a switch hitter. So he struggles versus changeups. I don't know if that's going to be a consistent throughout his career, if that's something that he will be able to tweak on a little bit. Will they be able to really fool him with changeups as much? But outside of that, 23 games for our guy, Edgar Quero, 313 average, 408 on-base percentage, and a 506 slug. This was before his injury that knocked him out and basically led to him missing time in September. I'm not counting the September games because when he debuted on July 4th to the end of August, that dude hit and consistently hit, and it does not really matter what level he's at, he hits. So Quero, one of the prospects, the other one, Teel, the one they just acquired, left-handed hitter, 20 walks to 29 strikeouts in AAA, so we'll always take that. Anyone that can control the strike zone, get on via the walk. He's got an all right hit tool. Didn't really show it in AAA. It was more prevalent in the lower levels. Again, it was only like a 20-game sample too, so I'm not like super worried about him. But he does maintain and can control the strike zone well. One thing that sticks out about Teel, he hits fastballs well. I think a sub-20 whiff rate on fastballs, so we'll take an 18% whiff rate on four-seam fastballs. However, 38.6% whiff rate versus changeups, 50% whiff rate versus sliders. I do think that something that young players will obviously develop and try to, tighten up those holes that they have in their game, but it does seem like a pretty big hole in Teal's game, having a 50% whiff rate versus sliders, that being an advanced level and him not having the same success as Quero. I do think that Teel will need a little bit of seasoning. That's why I ask you the question, and you can answer down in the comments or you can participate in the live chat. Do they need to call up Quero or Teel? Adley Rutschman, when you think of catching prospects, the cream of the crop, former first overall pick, was at Oregon State, teared up Oregon State. Comparing him, he had 238 plate appearances in AAA. Quero, only 110. Teel, 123. I don't think they need to call up Quero. Now, this is depending on Matt Thaiss' health. This is depending on Omar Narvaez's health. If they don't come into camp and finish camp healthy, I think they will need Quero or Teel. But if everything stays fine with these two's health, I don't think they need to call up Quero or Teel. Especially, I think just more seasoning needs to happen. And when you're talking about a rebuilding team and the idea of them adding veterans so then they could possibly lead to more trade pieces, I think Narvaez and Thaiss are interesting because it's really only up from here. If they're bad, oh well, you just cut them and maybe you look on the free agent pile for something else, or you just call up Quero or Teel. But with Thaiss, again, 79 and 81 weighted runs created plus in his past 2 seasons, respectfully. And you look at the DRS, the defensive run saves, -3 and -2 over the past 2 seasons, and his field and run value 0 and -4. He's got the one knee stance, but I think the idea is it's not even about the hitting. They can maintain a decent baseline from anywhere between a 65 to 85 OPS plus. That's not the big issue. I think it's all about stealing strikes with Walker McKinven and the catchers that they're bringing in. Thaiss doesn't really have this skill yet, but it's not something that Walker McKinven hasn't worked on before. I think the fact that he's already a one-knee catcher, one-knee stance catcher, is going to help him. But Narvaez was a -18 field framing run value in 2018 when he was with the White Sox last season. Then he was -15 with the Mariners in 2019. He goes to McKinven, and again, after -18 and -15, he goes to a +6, +8, +6. He leaves Milwaukee, starts working with the Mets, -1, -4. Maybe that's health related, but I also think Walker McKinven is the 9-fingered genius. So I'm just going to say that I don't think it's crazy that these are the people they're going after, the catchers that they're looking for, and I don't think it's crazy that they would give them the shot to be a part of the opening day roster because they could have possible value. If you are showing that, hey, now this guy isn't just an offensive bat like Narvaez, who is a former 110 OPS plus hitter, even with the White Sox, this is a guy that can go by and, whenever your young catcher doesn't have the day or, wants a day off, this guy can hold down fort fairly easily. I think that there is some value in trying to get Thaiss and Narvaez as much playing time at the major league level. So I don't think they need to call up Quero or Teel. We got Ryan in the chat saying Teel needs more time in AAA. Maybe this is sacrilege. The Red Sox were the team that called him up to AAA. Do the White Sox need to? Because my big concern is you want to get all the playing time for Quero. You want to give all the playing time to Teel. Is there going to be a concern where Quero and Teel are taking days away from each other at catcher? Obviously, you can move catcher or Quero or Teel to designated hitter, but isn't the whole point that you're trying to build them up as catchers? It seems like Edgar Quero has been left off some top 100 prospect lists because of his inability or possible projectability as a catcher. There aren't days that I really want Quero to have the day off because I want him to get into that routine of being a catcher you can rely on 120 plus games a year. Same thing with Teel. Teel obviously is higher ranked than Quero on most, if not all, position rankings, but he was worse in AAA. Is that a Worcester to Charlotte thing? Do you know how to say that one?
It's a Worcester.
It's right. So it's named after the town that then they make Worcestershire from.
Yeah.
But is it so? It's Worcester.
I believe it's Worcester. Yeah, I think so.
But then why do they say Worcester? Is that a Massachusetts thing?
That's slang. That's the start when you start messing around.
Can I say that?
Of course you can.
I don't know. They got mad at me one time. Anyways, I don't think it's crazy to say Teel go to Birmingham. You're going to get all the playing time, and then once Quero moves up within a month and a half, then Teel goes to Charlotte, and then by July, by the trade deadline, maybe you have both of them as your tandem going back and first. Ashley says Worcester. Right?
Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worcester.
Like no, it's Worcester. I don't know how to enunciate. Can you read? Do I know how to read? It would say woo, W-O-O.
That could also be Worcester.
Worcester.
It's a tough one. It's Edgar Quero all over again.
No, it's not. That one's really easy. That one just says care. C-A-R-E and then O-H.
Don't say
that
that
one's
to certain
very
people.
phonetically easy to spell out. We got to take a break. We got 28 people watching, 11 likes. If you haven't hit the like button yet, we'd very much appreciate you hitting the thumbs up button. Yeah, there you go. Ryan's saying woo stir, like you like woo, and then you stir something. So let's take a break. We want to let you know about our friends over at ComEd. Did you know the ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficiency? Joey, did you know that?
ComEd.com/clean?
No, you're supposed to say you don't know that.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Joey, since you didn't know, let me tell you, the energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings. And you might be wondering, what are businesses supposed to do? How do businesses find 35% savings? Well, you contact the experts over at ComEd. Sign up for a free facility assessment at comed.com/biz. And you might be wondering, well, they're advertising it. Maybe that means businesses aren't doing it. It's because they don't know where to go. Because if they know that they could save 35%, who wouldn't save 35%? Who wouldn't call the nice people over at ComEd? Who wouldn't go to comed.com/biz? 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 Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Empire. With Empire today, get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring. So of course they have copycats, but Empire cannot be beaten on their quality, service, and speed. That's why competitors advertise low quality products that they wouldn't even put in their home. Go talk to the experts over at Empire. They take the stress out of buying. They have people that pick the best flooring for you. So you just say, oh, I like the dark brown compared to the light brown. You're not thinking about what's that composed of, what's that made out of. Empire just knows that it's made from quality products. And you don't have to be bogged down with all the minutia and all the details. Head over to the virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will transform your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. Joey, have you figured out the Worcester thing?
I'm going with Worcester. I think Ryan Lambert here is dropping in with Worcester. Ashley King is confirming it is the second one. Back to you, Sean.
All right. Well, I really do appreciate Joey. I appreciate Ashley. I appreciate Ryan. And I appreciate the unnamed person out there. Hit that thumbs up button. Again, we got the live Bulls trade deadline or lack of trade deadline movement reaction happening over in Studio A. There's a Cubs show that's going to be out tomorrow. I think they're going to be talking about Alex Bregman. And then Joey's doing a post-game show tomorrow for the Blackhawks. So
I sure am.
Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. And I'm assuming, since Radio Row's still going on, why are we sending people to Super Bowl? Radio Row, I don't know. Maybe because it's a big business opportunity.
Because it's millions of impressions.
But they're down there at New Orleans at Super Bowl week. So if you're looking for some Eagles Chiefs talk before the weekend, head over to CHGO Bears, subscribe, and Joey, we didn't do the jingle. Is he here? I moved my guy. I moved my Empire guy. 588-2300 Empire today. I like the high.
Yeah,
it was a good high register.
I did my warm-ups this morning, so I felt good vocally.
No, shut off. All right. To end the conversation about the position battle at catcher, I think it would be too early to push Quero and Teel into that expectation. Maybe, if I had to pick one, Thaiss gets cut. They let Quero hit left-handed. Narvaez can go right-handed. And Quero at least is slowly worked in. And I didn't even mention Corey Lee. So that kind of tells you where Corey Lee's at. Corey Lee has an option. So Lee could be sent down to AAA. Maybe there's enough of a log jam where they end up just trading one of these players and maybe not even for anything, decent. But I think you'll probably see the two veterans, Corey Lee in AAA, Quero with him, and then our guy, Kyle Teel in AA.
Can I add something?
Of course.
I just think with this catching position, I think you just want to be really, really careful, especially when it comes to the catching position specifically, because you are entrusted with handling an entire pitching staff and a very young pitching staff at that front. So it always reminds me of Carson Kelly. If you remember St. Louis Cardinals, they brought him up. He was supposed to be the heir apparent to Yadier Molina. They brought him up, and he did a really great job handling the staff, but his bat went south, so they had to keep running him out there and playing him. And I'm just going to say that I think he got into some bad habits offensively. So you want to ease these guys in as moderately as you possibly can so that they can learn the ropes a little bit and be able to back off of them a little bit offensively to make sure that their hit profile hits the potential and ceiling that they want.
And I wonder, too, especially with No, I mean, that's a good point. I especially wonder, too, with McKinnon coming in, like, will there be new tendencies? Will there be a new kind of routine? Will it take a while for Quero and Teel to settle into those routines? I don't know. I think that's a fair point. I don't think there's a rush. Again, the White Sox, depending on who you ask, they could have the number 1 farm system, the number 2 farm system, the number 4 farm system, the number 12 farm system. The biggest thing is it hitting in 2027. And I'm fine if these players are still on the top prospect list next year. If Quero's still, uneligible or ineligible to be graduated, same with Teel, I'm fine with that. It is about making sure that it's right in 2027 or 2026. I know I'm jumping 2 years here, but let's be realistic. Do you think that they're going to be competing in 2026? I think what's best for the team, push it off, give them time to really grow and develop. Quero has been pushed through every single level of the major leagues by the idiotic Angels farm system. He is, only 21 years old, will be 21 until April 6th. I don't think there's a rush to rush this 22-year-old catcher. So I would keep Quero down, and Teel is 22 too. Just turn that as well. I'm fine if they take it slow with him. I don't think Teel would start in AAA and Quero would start in AA. I think it makes sense, especially being within your own organization. Make Teel kind of earn it a little bit, and then Quero can take over at Charlotte. But maybe none of this happens. Maybe Thaiss and Narvaez are the major league catchers. Maybe Quero and Teel are the minor league catchers. And as Todd is saying in the chat, Corey Lee is the second coming of Ron Karkovice. Maybe Ron Karkovice is traded. Was Ron Karkovice traded? You're older than me, Joey.
That's a great question. I'll look it up right now for you. I don't think he went anywhere else. I mean, he looked like he was 39 years old when he was 22 years old. So to be very fair, and he was also the dude too that back in the day would not have the ear flaps on his helmet. So I mean, this is as old school as it gets. So for all we know, we might have just given him a union job working on the roads, and that's how he wrapped up his 30s.
Wonderful. Yeah, and what was the Kark? He was the sergeant. No. Did he have a nickname?
Sergeant, I think, was correct.
Sarge?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kark?
I'm looking up Karkos right now.
Okay.
Let's fun game of what his career OPS.
Yeah, can we talk about people that were born when I was alive? Ron Karkovice did play in 1997, but that was also his last year. So I bet you I wasn't even alive for any Ron Karkovice action. So I guess that's my fault. Yeah, never traded.
White Sox. Finished White Sox.
We're a ton. Officer. That's what it was. Not sergeant. Officer.
And a gentleman.
He wore a ton of jersey numbers and also a ton of jerseys. Because he must have wore the Batterman, then he wore the cursive C, and then by 97, they're black and white again. So he really spanned the jerseys there. All right, so Karkovice is the officer. There we go. Why did I look up Ron Karkovice?
All right, we're talking catchers, man, and all these guys are just trying to become the next Ron Karkovice.
That's exactly what they're aiming for. They have pictures and posters of Ron Karkovice above their wall, like every aspiring major league catcher does. Not Yadier Molina, not Johnny Bench, not Yogi Berra. No, Kark. All right, let's get into some free agents. There was some discussion on what the lineup will look like for the White Sox on opening day. Especially with them holding on to Robert, I'd be confused why they just don't have him lead off. I think he's mentioned that he doesn't like leading off. I don't really care. I want him to get as many plate appearances as possible. I want him to be comfortable at the plate. I want him to be looking great. He's also, I think, still your fastest player on the team, so he gives you the ability to steal from first. If he's racking up steals, he's hitting homers, like you're just trying to increase his value, and I think you just got to give him every chance possible to do so. So I think Robert's probably your leadoff hitter. Benny, second, left field. I don't think there's a better player, unfortunately. God, I wish. God, I hope. But I think Benny probably ends up being your third hitter or your second hitter, and then third is Vaughn. This is just disgusting. No wonder people don't want to watch this team. I don't want to. I really don't. Because then I have to get to the fourth hitter, and I think I might need to say Mike Tauchman.
Clean up Brooks Baldwin.
Clean up. On certain days, it might be Brooks Baldwin.
Matchups.
But, yeah. I mean, clean up Vargas?
Well, can I ask you an optimistic question? Is there any possibility that we could see a Tommy Pham situation over the next month, where some of these guys don't sign and the White Sox bring them in for about 150 at bats and then try and flip him by May.
Yes. I mean, so what I was trying to get to there was you have Vargas at third base. You have Ramos at third base as well. Ramos does have options, can be sent back down to AAA. I think he's still only 22 years old as well. Maybe they think Brian Ramos needs a little bit more seasoning. That opens up a spot. Ramos has been projected as the DH. One of those guys that is an older free agent, maybe being overlooked, possibly falling down to the bottom of the Marina Trench for the bottom feeders, White Sox, to scoop him up. You've seen that he's been interviewed, if you're on X. JD Martinez, he signed last year, March 23rd, with the Mets. It was a 1-year, $12 million deal. He hit 16 homers, 69 RBIs. He played like 120 games. I think it's possible that they sign him. 12 million's a lot. But if they could get him for 8, they could get him for 7, I think they should do that. Because that is a person that either by July you're trading or you're cutting. And you probably know fairly quickly if his bat's slow and if he just looks kind of out of shape. But I think going out there and getting somebody that can hit home runs, that could actually be a cleanup hitter, that I'm not barfing to say out loud, is a true designated hitter would be helpful. The White Sox do not have a masher. Robert kind of on the outside, like, he's kind of, maybe he could be a masher. But outside of that, there's not a person that I think over 140 games of plate appearances would hit 30 home runs. Martinez has done that, been there, done that before. So I think Martinez, especially in this ballpark against AL Central pitching, could do a pretty decent job. So if there is a guy like Tommy Pham, probably not an outfielder, but I think a guy that could take over that designated hitter spot because they don't have somebody that I think is confident to even be a designated hitter. Like, oh no, my job is only to hit. I mean, that freaked out Eloy Jimenez, and he was an actual hitter. So I think it's possible they get somebody to fill out that DH spot. The other one, Spencer Turnbull. If we're just looking at the 90-something free agents that are out there, I think it's now 89 since Pete Alonso is signed. Spencer Turnbull, right-handed pitcher. He was with Philly last year. He ended up having a lat strain on June 27th. This was a guy that I liked as a possible relief pitcher last year. The Phillies pick him up, and he was great. 17 games total for Turnbull with the Phillies. 7 games started, a 2.65 ERA. If you go back to, I think, May, we talked about that 39-game hellacious stretch where the White Sox were playing the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, the Phillies. One of those teams or one of those players that almost no-hit them was Spencer Turnbull. I think it was on that Friday night, and he goes like 6 or 7 innings of no-hitting the White Sox. Nothing crazy to do against the 2024 White Sox, but I still think he could be a valuable pitcher, and he kind of fits into that role the White Sox are looking for of guys that can start, but guys that can also go long relief. They like that with Flexen. They moved him from starting and bullpen. They did that with Schuster. I think that you could look for Turnbull because of flexibility. And Bannister always talked about getting guys when they're at their lowest. It's a lat strain. It's not a tear. He was moved to the 60-day IL, but I haven't heard any negative news since then. So if I had to put a name out on the table, 2 names out on the table, JD Martinez and Spencer Turnbull. Those are my names. We're wrapping up this show. We're going to have a show again next week. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday are our shows here on CHGO for the CHGO White Sox podcast. If you are looking to sign up for our Die Hard program, you get to join our Discord. You get to chat with diehards alike. I'm in there as well, trying to keep you up to date. Our guy Husky Bardo, who was in there a little bit early, shared that the recap had Ethan Katz on. I listened to Guff and Brian Anderson talk to Ethan Katz. That, that's like,
I mean,
I'm trying to, like, it was bad, so that's what I'm trying to like.
Okay.
I didn't like Brian Anderson contributing on that. It's weird when someone is being interviewed and the person ends up just actually talking about themselves and giving their own personal stories and not asking any questions to the interview subject.
You mean Brian Anderson somehow made it about himself?
Oh yeah. So, don't listen to that, or do. Because I don't dislike Guff or anything, and I don't dislike Brian Anderson.
Guff's great. I love Guff.
Maybe listen to it on 2 times speed. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Thank you to Joey Christopoulos for producing the show. I'm Sean Anderson. Again, we'll be back next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 4 p.m. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. I'll talk to you on Monday. Good. Bye.
All city like the mayor.